In today's video, I answer, how can I stop my puppy biting me? So this owner's got a 3-month-old puppy that's biting their hands, that's biting their ankles. They've got a couple of kids and the puppy's actually made them cry a few times because of it. They've tried a few things. They've tried just saying, ouch. They've tried holding the mouth closed and telling him no biting, but then that causes the dog just to bark at them. And they also added that their husband has actually disciplined their dog by spanking him on the bottom when he's being naughty. And that because of that, they've noticed that the dog is becoming a little bit nervous when he sees that they're raising their hands, and even when they try to just pet him. So he's also not fully vaccinated, and so they haven't brought him out to socialise either. So how can they stop his biting behaviour? Well, there are a couple of ways that we can stop biting in puppies. The most important thing is to be consistent and that everyone in the family does the same thing. So parents, children, anyone visiting, they all do the same thing. So consistency is key so that the puppy gets the same idea from whoever's hand that they're biting. They're doing the same thing, and that's just going to reinforce what needs to happen. If you're sending mixed messages to any dog but to a puppy, it can get very confusing for them. So the owner's doing definitely the right thing by saying ouch or no loudly. But at this time, all play needs to stop and you should ignore the puppy for a few minutes. So completely ignore, turn your back, put the toy down, play stops. Now, if the puppy continues to bite or if they bark and they're making a fuss, they're jumping up, and as soon as you interact with them again, they're biting, then instead of just shouting ow or no, then actually just remove them from that area. So they need to learn that if they bite, then play stops. So just pick them up, take them to another room, shut them in that room by themselves without any toys. They're going to be bored. It only needs to be for a few minutes, and then bring them out, and then you can make a fuss of them, you can give them a treat or what have you, and they're not going to associate that with their biting behaviour. But what they need to do is they need to learn that if they bite, life gets very boring. The important thing is that you need to do that straight away, so you can't let them bite you and then a minute later, a couple of minutes later, put them in another room, because they're not going to make that association. So it's very important that when something happens, it has a response straight away. So we use that in training. If you're training your dog to sit, then you give them, as soon as they sit down, you give them a treat straight away. Again, if they sit down and a minute later you give them a treat, they're not going to know why they got it. They're not going to associate that sitting with the treat. So in a similar way, life needs to get boring straight away as soon as that bite happens. Now, also, you need to really stop playing any tugging games or games where you're putting your hand in their mouth if that's what you're doing, as this, again, it only encourages biting in those situations, and it's just sending mixed messages to a puppy. And then finally, really negative punishment like spanking, it should always be avoided. It's much more likely to result in a fearful dog who doesn't understand the link between punishment and the unwanted behaviour. So punishment in any way, it's actually very hard to get right, and it's very easy to get wrong. And the last thing you want is a dog who is scared of you because they're worried that they're going to get punished or they're going to get hit. So, negative punishment is definitely something to be avoided. And then my final point would be, if you're still struggling, if biting is still happening, you don't seem to be getting anywhere, then consult a dog trainer or a behaviorist, or talk to your vet, and they will give you some other strategies that will help stop puppy biting.